Welcome back to the Working for a Living Fantasy Football Podcast. This feels a little bit weird saying this because it's been a little while. Joining me as always is Tyler. What's going on?
Not much. What's going on?
Oh, not much. Just enjoying a nice cigar and it's a pretty warm night tonight.
It's not too bad. It's in the 60s here.
Yeah, we were going to do this over the weekend, but it's supposed to be kind of chilly this weekend, so we decided to jump on it now. And we're going to go over the top 20 rookies. Obviously, we just had the draft. I guess it's been a couple weeks now. Gave us a little time to kind of look into them a little bit and put some numbers on paper and kind of see who we like, see where they landed. I'm sure a lot of people have been talking about rookies. It seems like people are just in love with this rookie class this year. So there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's quite a few of these guys that I like. So it's easy to understand why people have been excited for a long time.
Yeah. So we're gonna break this into two shows. Actually, we're gonna record this all tonight. But we're gonna do AFC and NFC. We're gonna do that just to make it a little easier to listen to, so it's not super long. I know we talked to a couple people that said that the 30-minute shows are a little bit easier to listen to, so that's our goal. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we'll take a break in the middle, and then we'll. And I'm not sure if we're going to actually post them on the same day or not, but it is going to be broken down into two shows so it's a little bit easier. And I'll say this again at the end of the show, but if you don't know, the rookie draft is coming up on May 23rd, and it's at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. It will auto draft you according to your rankings if you're not there, but obviously if you want to try to get the guy you want, you should be there.
Definitely, you should definitely be there. It should be real easy, just over your phone, just on the Sleeper app that we used all last year. So it should be relatively easy to do, I think.
And it's that 23rd is a Saturday. That's 2 weeks from this Saturday. So again, May 23rd at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Yep. I know. You have the number one pick, so you've got to be pretty excited for it, right?
I am, yeah. And I was going to talk about that. It feels kind of weird because I made the trade. Actually, me and Dan were walking up to your mom's for the draft last year, and we were just talking. And he really wanted Baker Mayfield, and we were just thinking about how we could make the trade happen. And the only thing we could come up with was, hey, your first round pick, because at the time we had no idea what that pick was going to be.
Right.
And we all know that, fantasy football is what it is, and you just never know where you're going to finish. And unfortunately, unfortunately for him, he finished last.
Fortunately for you.
Yeah, a little bit of dumb luck for me that I happened to get the first pick. So, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, yep. I do not blame you.
But I don't feel too bad for Dan because he won the league last year. So we want to give a congratulations to Dan. We weren't going to do, we talked about doing a recap episode, but man, things get busy, and obviously the state of the world right now, it just wasn't something that we really planned for, I guess. And Dan, I guess I apologize for that because you definitely deserved it because you had a great team and you had a great season. So congratulations.
Yeah. He did have a great season. And I thought it was really start to finish. Like I was telling you, I think a couple nights ago, that I'm kind of mad at you for, if you remember, we had the episode where we ranked everybody's team preseason, and I wanted Dan to be in our top 3. And you talked me out of it. And so, but like I said, I thought he had a great draft. And then, of course, he pulled off a couple trades in the middle of the season to make his team even better, and it was pretty much his from start to finish.
Yeah, and it's really like in football or any other sport. Not always the best team wins, but this year it happened. Even from, like you said, from start to finish, Dan pretty much was dominant. He was always the guy that I did not want to play. And so, yeah, congrats again, Dan. Great season.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, and I wish I had that paper with me. I went back through the previous years that we've been playing, and figured out how many champions actually had the number one or the most points scored that year. And there really only 3 times since we've been playing, and I could be wrong, it could be 4 or something, I don't know. But it was a very low number that the highest scoring team actually ended up winning it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we know week to week, anybody can win or lose. So, it's kind of remarkable that the best team actually won, because it probably doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It wasn't as often as what you'd think. So which just goes to show you his dominance from the beginning to the end, really.
Yeah. So let's move on. We're trying to keep it as timely as we can. But we did want to talk about real quick, what the plan was. Me and Tyler are planning on doing the show again next year. I know a few of you do listen regularly, and we really appreciate that. So what the plan is to do it. We have a few shows planned for the summer. We'll probably we would really like to do a draft recap from last year. I know that's a long time ago. But I think it's fun to go and look into the numbers and see kind of how you drafted and how you ended up. So we're hoping to do that. We're hoping to do a mock draft show. We're hoping to do a pre-draft ranking show, kind of like we did last summer. So those are some of the things that we are hoping to get to this summer.
Yeah. I think we'll be able to get to all of them for sure. So some things to look forward to.
Yeah. Of course, I was thinking the other day, I don't even know. Hopefully all this stuff is over. We can actually have our draft, because, it is.
Gotta assume.
I mean, that's damn near September at that point. So I really, really hope we're done with this by then.
I would say so. I can't imagine not being.
Yeah. So I do have a spot in here for free agency. There were a couple big signings, but I don't know that we really need to talk about it. It's kind of old news at this point. I'm sure everybody's aware that Brady's on the Bucs and Gronk signed there. Andy Dalton went to the Cowboys, and Nick Foles went to the Bears. Stephon Diggs got traded to the Bills, but I don't think we really need to spend too much time on that. I think people kind of have already heard about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Yep. All right. Well, without further ado, let's just jump right into the AFC. Tyler, if you want to go ahead and take that very first AFC spot, go and jump right in.
I'll let you take this one.
You want me to take it?
Well, yeah, I know you're going to, so you might as well take it here too.
So the order we put these in were the order they were drafted in the actual draft. So I didn't put these in any order, as far as who I'm going to take. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the first. Is that right? He was not the first one taken.
First running back.
Okay.
I think you have them. I figured you had them in pre-draft.
Oh, you know what? I do have them in draft order. I have them in their draft ranking order, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
As far as ADP. Okay, so the first guy we have on the board here is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's a running back from LSU that went to Kansas City. I have a couple numbers on him. He's 5'7", 207. He ran a 4.6 40 at the combine. And I've got his college stats in front of me. He was a 3-year guy. Played all 3 years, but looked like he was a starter for the last 2 years. This past year, 215 carries, 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. That's a really nice season. Obviously, we know LSU was just a powerhouse last year with Burrow and Justin Jefferson and a lot of really big name guys coming out of college into the NFL. So obviously, the running back that landed in Kansas City, whoever that was going to be a highly touted prospect. We knew that fantasy-wise, that's someone that most people were wanted. So I'm not going to commit to saying that I'm going to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the 101, but I think he's pretty much the consensus 101 in dynasty rookie drafts.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you and kind of echo everything you said. It's the running back for Kansas City. And you want to go back farther than Kansas City, basically the running back for Andy Reid. You're going to always want that. So, yeah. To me, I'd be shocked if you don't take him. There's one other person I could see possibly taking at the 101. We'll talk about him here in a little bit, but I think Hilaire is pretty easily my 101.
Yeah, I mean they're already speculating. The GM or the coach, I don't think it was Reed, but the GM came out and said that Damian Williams is a starter, but Clyde will compete. He's already opening the door for him to take his job. So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, I don't think anybody expects Damian Williams to be the starter all year long. Um, so yeah, and people are comparing him to Brian Westbrook, which if you remember him back when Andy Reid was the
Yeah,
coach for the Eagles, he was a fantasy stud.
yeah, multiple years. Yep.
Yep. So that's the first one. So if you want to take the
Yeah,
second one,
yeah. I'll take number 2. It's Jerry Jeudy, out of Alabama. Went to Denver. I was talking to Derek. I think it was last night, and he was just excited about Denver getting him. He's a Denver fan, and he's also a Jerry Jeudy fan. He was actually telling me that he went to an Alabama game this past year, and
oh wow,
despite Henry Ruggs III being the number 1 receiver taken in this draft, and also played for Alabama, Derek said he barely remembers that name. Like they called Jerry Judy's name all the time. Um,
yeah,
he had 77 catches last year for 1,163 yards, 10 touchdowns. Um, the guy's a monster. He's 6'1", 193 pounds, ran a 4.45 40. And even before the year was over, I mean, people were talking about him being one of the best route running prospects in a really, really long time.
yeah, yeah. I was excited about him last year, and I remember watching him just play, and he just looks like a polished receiver already. You
Yeah.
know, he's going to come into the league, and I think he's going to make an immediate impact opposite Cortland Sutton over there in Denver. So we'll see if Drew Lock is the real deal. Obviously, that's going to make a difference, but I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be a star.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Derek thinks he's going to really take Cortland Sutton's like the number 1 receiver there. I kind of don't really see that though. I see more like a 1A 1B. Kind of like we've seen from several teams, and not that long ago we've seen from Denver with Demaryius Thomas
Sanders
and Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
and it's tough to say. Their skill sets are a little different, but I think they're great complements to each other.
I do too. Yep, I do too.
Yeah,
You gotta be excited
he's my
if you're
number
a
one
fan, I think.
Yeah, he's my number 1 receiver in this class, and the class is absolutely loaded at receiver. So, but Jerry Jeudy is my favorite.
Yeah. Yep.
So third on the board, we've got Jonathan Taylor, who was drafted by the Colts. A lot of people pre-draft had him as the number 1 running back, before we found out about landing spots. So, he is a absolutely prolific runner in college. Freshman year, 1,900 yards. Sophomore year, almost 2,200 yards. Junior year, 2,000 yards. 26 total touchdowns to go along with that. So the guy's an absolute production monster. Landed in a great spot in Indianapolis with the offensive line. So I'm super excited about this guy. I really, really want him. Can I have him and Hilaire? That seems fair, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, just take 2 picks with the number 1 pick. That's fine.
Yeah. So, this guy, I absolutely love this guy. Obviously, he is here in Indianapolis where I live. So, I mean, that makes it a little bit more enticing for me. So we'll see what happens. But Jonathan Taylor is a guy that I absolutely love, and I think he's going to have a great career.
I completely agree, and actually would not be shocked if he had a better career than CEH. And he's the one guy that I said I could see an argument for 101 other than CEH. However, and this is my opinion, if I'm a team like yours where you look to be like you're a win now team, I'd rather have CEH. I think he's going to help you faster. Whereas Jonathan Taylor, I think he'll be productive immediately. I think there will be weeks that you absolutely will start him this year, or should have started him this year, but he's still going to split a lot of time with Marlon Mack, and I just think that this year won't be the massive numbers that I think could be coming in the future years.
Yeah, I think I texted you the other day, Jonathan Taylor, 2021 RB1.
Yeah, you did.
When would Mac, because Mac's on his last year of his contract, and they're not going to pay him, so he's probably going to go elsewhere. So yeah, Taylor will be the guy in a year, and I do think he'll have a longer career. But one thing Taylor is not as an accomplished passer as Hilaire, and we know in fantasy, pass catching is a big deal because that can really give you that ceiling. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. I think Hilaire definitely has a higher ceiling, especially at first.
Well, yeah, like I said, at first I agree, but Adrian Peterson wasn't necessarily known as a pass catcher either. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Let me be clear. I'm not saying that Taylor's going to be Adrian Peterson, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean, that without year in and year out, top 5 running back,
right.
at least for 3 years or 4 years, whatever. I could see that from.
Yeah. So
he's bigger and faster than CH too. By the way, I don't know if you mentioned that. He's 5'10" and ran a 7.44 40.
Yeah, and I was watching his film today, and he breaks away for touchdowns, or he did in college, all the time. So a lot of his yards were just breakaway runs, scoring touchdowns. So. Yeah, that's something Indianapolis has not had for, I can't even remember when. So, obviously I'm really excited about him as a fan of the Colts. So,
yeah. Yep. So next on our list, we got J.K. Dobbins. Went to Baltimore. This is a guy that I've been talking to you about how I'm kind of hoping that I end up with somebody in the range that I could end up with anyway. But obviously went to Ohio State and had he had 3 good years there. But the thing is, going to Baltimore, where it's a team that they want to run the ball. I expect him to be good for a while. Like, I'd be excited to have him. However, similar to Taylor, he's got Mark Ingram's there now, so I don't expect a ton from him this year. But I do think he's the future there.
Yeah, and I think Ingram. I want to say that this is maybe his last year or his. I think it's his last year of guaranteed money, which means that he can be cut after this year and not cost anything. So typically, when they draft a young running back specifically that high, that's a sign of what their direction they're going. So yeah, Dobbins is more of a future prospect, but nevertheless, he's a good running back
for sure.
Next, we have the first receiver that was actually taken in the draft. That was Henry Ruggs. Kind of a surprise, I think. I don't think he was considered to be the top wide receiver prospect. But if you watch his film,
people had him like in that very next tier. I think that CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy was like tier 1, and he may have been tier 1A.
I'd probably put him in a different tier for sure. But he's one of those burners. I mean, look at his 40 time, 4.27. That is ridiculous. That's really close to what John Ross ran, isn't it? A couple years ago. So yeah, an absolute burner. And when you watch his film, the dude is insane. He gets a lot of bubble screens and takes them for touchdowns. I'm not saying that'll happen in the NFL, but I think that the Raiders will try to get him the ball in space and see what he can do.
Yeah, I agree. I actually heard an interesting thing about him today. Somebody was talking about how they keep hearing, Tyreek Hill's name. People comparing him to Tyreek Hill, and he's like, I think that's kind of fair, but it's early Tyreek Hill. And so if you can remember, like his rookie and maybe sophomore year, even he was like a kick return specialist. He still caught some balls, still did some things, made some big plays, but wasn't really consistent,
Yeah, he took time to develop into an actual receiver. And I think Ruggs, I don't really know, and maybe he's a little more accomplished in that realm, but let's pump the brakes a little bit before we put him on the level of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess you could talk about the next guy, coincidentally.
Yep. I'll talk about this next guy. He comes from a good Comes from a good what am I trying? What's the word I'm looking for?
Like family lineage.
Yeah, lineage. There you go. It's Cam Akers. He was at Florida State and went to L.A. to the Rams, and I don't know. I don't know how excited you would be for him. The thing with him is like, I think a lot of people are excited because they assume somebody's going to take that Todd Gurley role, and that's a possibility. So, which is why this guy would be somebody I would consider picking. If he fell to me at my spot. But it's really kind of more of a roll of dice to me because I'm not sure that they're going to give that role to just one person. I'm not sure it's not going to be a committee. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what you think about him, actually.
Yeah, so Cam Akers is a super talented guy. A lot of things that I've heard is that he had a horrible offensive line in Florida State. So he'll fit right in at the Rams because they also have an offensive line. So I really like him. If he's there at 9, I'll have a hard time passing him. But you're right, that backfield's a little bit muddy. We don't really know who's really going to take the lead. I mean, there's 2 guys technically in front of him at the moment, Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson. I keep getting that name messed up because of the footballers.
Yeah.
It's not Darnell Anderson.
No.
But a lot of people are speculating that the Rams don't trust Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because he was an absolute monster in college. But he just never really put it together. I mean, a lot of times when you see a rookie, even in limited action, they'll have those runs where you can kind of glimpse of what they're capable of. We never really saw that.
Right.
And I'm not saying they're giving up on him because, I mean, obviously he's only a second-year guy. But the fact that they spent a high draft pick on another running back, it means they want someone to come in. And maybe it's Malcolm Brown they don't like. I don't know. But
could be. Well, the thing is with them, like it seems like the past 2 or 3 years they've been bringing running backs in. It was a couple years ago they had a rookie named John Kelly. I don't know if you remember him, but they talked a lot about him and how much they liked him. But the thing is, they didn't spend a draft pick as high as Akers on them either. So that's what I think gives some people faith in him anyway. But I don't know. I find it hard to believe that he's going to get that much work, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's a toss-up for sure. I mean, nobody really knows what the coach has planned, but nevertheless, he's a super talented guy. Rushford almost a little bit over 1,100 yards last year and 18 touchdowns with a bad offensive line. So
true.
He caught 30 passes, which is also really, really nice. And that's what made Todd Gurley so successful there, fantasy-wise, was his receiving.
Yeah, like you said, Akers should slide right in and take a lot of that. So he will definitely have value one way or the other.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We got the first quarterback. We know he was taken number 1 overall, but Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati. This guy's kind of interesting because if you look at his stats, he went to Ohio State. He's from Ohio. He went to Ohio State right out of high school, which you don't go to Ohio State if you're not an absolute stud in high school.
Right.
I mean, Ohio State is like one of the premier landing spots for college, especially for quarterbacks. So,
exactly.
So he spent a couple years there and didn't really. I think what happened was he got hurt, and Haskins came in and was really good, and he never got his job back.
Yeah, and to be fair, Haskins went in the first round last year.
Right. So he spent a couple years at Ohio State, transferred to LSU. That ended up being a good move. He didn't really. Well, he started the last 2 years, but this past year was one of the best seasons by a college quarterback of all time. 5,600 yards, 60 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. That is just insane. That's in 15 games. So
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And if you look at his tape, he looks poised. Something just clicked for him. He looked great. So I think that's a great pick by Cincinnati. I'm really excited to see what he does there. I don't think Cincinnati's been to a playoff game for quite a while. I don't think they've won a playoff game in a really long time.
Yeah.
So I always love to see these guys go to these franchises that are kind of down and see what they can do.
Yeah. I would say there's a good possibility, this is what causes their team to turn around. The more I learn about Burrow and everything, like I'm becoming more of a believer in him.
Yeah.
Like I think he could be like elite. So I'm excited about him, to be honest.
And he seems like a great kid. I mean, if you're a casual college football fan and you probably heard his soundbite from the Heisman acceptance speech. Just seems like a really down to earth guy, and he's going to be easy to root for, I think. So.
Yeah, I agree. And they've got weapons there. Obviously AJ Green. We'll see if he's healthy. I don't know. Tyler Boyd. They got Mixon. They drafted a kid. We'll talk about later, I think, right? We'll talk about him.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway,
yeah. And the guy we're going to talk about later, he was the first pick of the second round. So that's nearly a first round talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. In most other years, it probably would be a first round talent.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I don't know if we said this. He's 6'3", 221. So good size for a quarterback.
Yeah. He's somebody that if you're struggling at quarterback, I was talking to Derek about this yesterday. If I was in Derek's shoes, this is exactly who I'd be looking for. So we'll see. I mean, we've talked about him possibly. If he fell to me, I'm set at quarterback, at least for the near future. But I would still take him.
It'd be hard to pass him for sure.
Yeah, I just believe in his future.
Yeah, great deep ball thrower. And I think that is going to play really well into the weapons they have. Also, another thing, Cincinnati's got a lot of puzzle pieces coming together. I know we're kind of lingering on Burrow here, but their first-round pick last year was an offensive lineman that went down before the season even started. So they're getting him back. That's going to be a huge addition to their team, and it's just going to make everything better. Mixon, pass protection, obviously. So I'm really excited to see what Cincinnati does. It's hard to make a huge leap in 1 year.
Right.
But I think that, improvement, what do you think what would be a comfortable over under bet on wins that you would be comfortable taking the over on?
6.
6? That's fair.
I'd feel comfortable taking the over on that.
Yeah.
I think they'll win 7 games.
Well, the schedule came out today. I haven't seen it, but we know that they play Baltimore twice, they play Pittsburgh twice, they play Cleveland twice. So, that could be tough.
Yeah, they're in a tough division. And to be clear, I'm kind of spouting his praise a little bit, but I want nothing to do with him in a redraft league. I don't think it's going to be immediate. I believe in his future.
No, and I mean, like rookie success. I mean, if you look at the best, like Baker Mayfield has the record for touchdown passes by a rookie, and it's 27. So,
yeah.
I mean, kind of that's an absolute ceiling, you would think. And even that would not be a terrible season, but it's not really what you're looking for in redraft. So
yeah, it's not fantasy relevant. The only way you're getting a quarterback that's fantasy relevant in his rookie year is it's going to be somebody that can run the ball.
Like
Lamar
Kyler
Jackson,
Murray.
A couple games towards the end of his rookie season was like that. Yeah, like you said, Kyler Murray last year, Cam Newton his rookie season, players like that, but that's not Burrow.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the next guy. Go ahead and take the next one if you want.
Sure, yeah, it's Denzel Mims. Receiver went to the Jets, which I like the landing spot because, I like Mims. He's a good height for a receiver, 6'3", 207, and he run a sub 440. So he ran 4.38. I have Sam Darnold in the Dynasty League, so I'm happy about him getting another weapon.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so I'm kind of excited about that, and there's part of me that would kind of like to have him in the Dynasty too, just to have that.
Sure.
Darnold and Mims, in case they become special or whatever,
Yeah, and a lot of people think Mims is the most underrated receiver in the draft, but he was drafted pretty high. So I think and they really needed receiver help. They lost Robbie Anderson. Quincy Enunwa has already been announced to miss the whole year next year, which is wild. Yeah, so they've got Crowder.
Wild that they didn't announce that. They haven't already announced it.
No, they already did.
No, I'm saying that they hadn't before that.
Oh, yeah.
He just can't play. Yeah, he's just assumed.
Yeah, so they've got Crowder. They've got Herndon. And I guess they've got Mims because I don't even know what other receiver. Oh, they signed Brashad Perriman. But I think Mims, gosh, he could start day one. So it's probably, I mean, Crowder's the slot guy. So is it weird to think that Mims could be the number one? He'll probably be the two. I'd say Perriman probably takes that number one spot.
Maybe. I mean, we've talked about a couple of receivers, and we'll talk about another one later that I like his landing spot because of the opportunity. But man, Denzel Mims, he's got a fantastic opportunity there.
Yeah, and he looks great on tape. I mean, I watched his tape today, and he's a special player. I think he's going to be a really nice. Whoever lands this guy, I don't know where he'll be taken. Probably in the second, but whoever gets him, I think is going to be really happy.
Yeah, I agree.
So next up is my favorite quarterback in the draft, and that's Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I'm glad you
always
got that
struggle with that. Yeah. So Tua is a different kind of a prospect than Joe Burrow. He was a lot more highly touted coming out of high school. Super, super talented. And the thing about him is he's been doing it for a couple years now instead of like Burrow just did it 1 year. Obviously he got hurt, which is why his draft stock took a hit. I think if he would not have gotten hurt, there would have been a big debate on who got taken number one this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I really like Tua. I love the talent. I think that athletically he's just better. He's a little smaller. He's only 6 foot 216. But man, when he's in the pocket, he makes great decisions, and the ball comes out with some pep. So I really, really like Tua. I would love to grab him in the draft. I don't think I'll get the chance to, but yeah.
I 100% agree with you. I don't think you'll get the chance to, but if you do, I think it's like that's the perfect spot for somebody like that. I think because you have Mahomes, so you're not going to need him for a while. I think even though, like I said with Burrow, I don't think Burrow is going to make an impact this year fantasy wise. But I still think his success will be quicker than Tua's.
Yeah. And everything I'm hearing is that Tua's going to sit for a while. Because of health reasons, but they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he was actually really good last year. So I think they're going to let him heal up and let him sit and learn. I'm really, really interested to see if Miami can turn around because they're another one of those teams that was just they've been terrible lately, and they've made a ton of moves, a lot of draft picks. So I'm interested to see if they can turn it around.
Yeah, I think it looked like they started to last year a little bit. So, yeah, we'll just see if that continues. I mean, I hope for their sake it does. It'd be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, and a lot of people criticize them for not taking a running back in the draft, but I think it's kind of smart. Your quarterback's not really going to start this year anyway. There's always next year. They can still draft Travis Etienne's coming out next year. There are a lot of good running backs coming out every year, so they could easily draft one in the first round or second round next year and be set, when they're ready to compete. It's not the year for them anyway.
I really don't. I mean, I don't hate their running back position. I mean, they have Jordan Howard and
Matt Breida.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know, but anyway, I'm with you. I like Tua a lot. Again, but you don't want to draft him expecting immediate help at quarterback, though.
Definitely not. Yeah. So if you're a team that really needs quarterback, probably want to go with Burrow if you can.
Yeah, if you need the help sooner rather than later, for sure.
Yeah. Next guy up. Go ahead and take this next one, actually, if you want.
Okay. We briefly mentioned him earlier when we were talking about Burrow and how, interestingly enough, if you remember, AJ Green got drafted in the same draft that Andy Dalton did, so they came into the league together. And now, the Bengals are kind of hoping to get that next, quarterback receiver combo because they take T. Higgins and. I honestly don't know a ton about him. He's kind of him and Denzel Mims really are the receivers that I know probably the least about. But I know they're pretty excited about him. Like you said, he was picked with the first pick of the second round, so based almost a first round talent. So
Yeah. So
anyway,
he was like the fourth, I think the fourth receiver taken in the draft.
uh,
Maybe fifth.
fifth. Yeah,
Oh no,
right.
no, yeah. Justin Jefferson got taken before him.
Yeah,
Um,
sixth.
yeah. So, but he's really tall. He's 6'4". He reminds me. A lot of people want to compare to AJ Green, obviously because of his landing spot and because
Sure.
AJ Green's a big dude too. But he reminds me of Mike Williams a lot, and I think that's kind of the role that he's going to kind of take on at first.
Yeah.
Watch out for him in the red zone. So I think that I really hope that him and Burrow can really get a nice connection, because that can be a really great duo for years to come.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Next up is a guy that went to the Colts from USC, Michael Pittman. Another bigger guy. And if you look at his peripherals, they actually look really similar to T. Higgins. The Colts said they considered him the best receiver in the draft. That could be lip service. I personally think it is lip service, because if Jerry Jeudy would have been there and they would have passed on him, that would be insane.
Right.
And actually, I heard that the Colts were looking to draft T. Higgins, but he was taken right before them. So they took Pittman. No, I don't hate this landing spot for Pittman with Rivers. That could be a really nice combination too. He's not a burner, but he's a bigger guy at 6'4". So I don't know a ton about him. I didn't get to watch his tape, but I'm excited to see what he does. I think Indianapolis is, quietly putting together some pretty nice weapons on offense. You got, Hilton, and really want to see what Paris Campbell can do this year. And they got Pittman. Indy, I think Mike Clay is a guy that I quote a lot on this show. He's an ESPN analyst. He has the Colts as the third seed in the AFC this year. That's really, really, high.
Yeah.
So people are expecting big things out of that. I mean, considering there's Kansas City, and I think the AFC is kind of loaded. So
I mean, I don't know that I'm going to rank them as the third best team in the AFC. I mean, they could be. I don't know, but I do know that I agree with what you said. They're definitely putting together a really good team, and I think they've built it right. You start with a good defense and a good offensive line.
Yeah.
And you've just got a good foundation to build from there. Like you said, T.Y. Hilton on the other side from Pittman. Philip Rivers, you got to expect, he's going to be there for, I'm going to say a year or two, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how long he'll be there.
That's fair.
And then we've already talked about their running backs and assumed their running back for the future. So, you got to be pretty excited as a Colts fan.
Yeah, and they actually traded the 13th overall pick to San Francisco for DeForest Buckner, which is great. So, they got that defensive tackle that they were kind of looking for anyway in that first pick. Colts are huge improvement this year.
Yep.
All right, you can go and take the next one.
I don't even know how you say this name, Laviska Shenault.
Yeah, that's right.
With the Jacksonville, I'll be honest with you. I'm like, I don't want to sound like super negative to whoever ends up with them, but I'm confused. Like, I feel like they had a lot of good young receivers, and I'm just not. I guess we didn't see. I guess we saw Gardner Minshew look pretty good his rookie year, but like to me, he still seems pretty unproven. So like, I'm not excited here at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember hearing about him last year, and people do really like him. He didn't have a great year stat wise. Only 56 catches, 700 yards for 6 touchdowns. But people love his talent, and you see that a lot. College guys that didn't really make a huge impact, but they come into the league and they get in the right situation and they can really thrive. Now his landing spot's not wonderful.
No, I don't think so.
No, but they did lose their, I guess would have been their number 2 receiver. No, that'd be Dede, I guess.
Yeah,
they lost Marcus Lee. But he's kind of buried because Chark's probably the number 1, Dede's the 2. Shenault will probably get in, I guess, in 3 wide receiver sets, but I don't know he'll start right away.
I don't know. Is he going to? I mean, and Keelan Cole still there? We've seen pretty good things from him at times too.
Yeah, and we already know that Gardner really likes Chark.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to get another guy in the mix and see what he can do. But yeah, this is another guy that I don't know a ton about.
Yeah. He's the guy that
Um,
I really can't imagine drafting, but he is the type of guy that if he does get drafted, it's the second round, and then it's you're kind of hoping his talent shines through at some point in time. But
yeah,
a lot of these guys in the second round, I mean, you're just throwing darts at this point, really, right?
right. The next guy is a guy that a lot of people really like. It's Zach Moss, who got drafted by Buffalo. We know that they wanted to replace Frank Gore, and of course, everybody is comparing him to Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Not a real fast guy. 5'9", 223, ran a 4.65. So he's not super fast, but he's kind of what a traditional bruiser type running back, which is
Yes.
kind of what they're looking for as a complement to Singletary. Had a great year last year, 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, and he's had sustained success for the last 3 years. So actually, he's one of the guys that played 4 years in college, which is kind of interesting to see. You don't really see that often, especially with highly, touted guys. But he's a guy that I'm interested to see what he does. And he's also a guy that I may draft as a handcuff because if one of them gets hurt, I got the number one guy there that's going to get all the touches. So he's a guy I'm looking at that I may grab depending on how the draft falls to me. But I know people are excited about him.
I could easily see that. And the thing is, though, like as a Singletary owner, are you kind of disappointed that they drafted him, though?
I'm super disappointed. I wanted them to get a guy in the 7th round, and be like, oh yeah, he's the guy. He's backup just in case we need him because, But the thing that I've heard is people are, because you see that they draft a guy with a pretty high draft pick, but a lot of people are saying, don't forget how special Singletary was last year. He was really good. It's going to be hard to keep the ball out of his hands if he continues to play like that. So they're saying to kind of don't knock him as much as you kind of want to, as your gut tells you to.
Yeah, that's fair. But I do think Zach Moss will be used, and I actually think he'll have some fantasy relevant games this year as well.
Sure, you could see him being a goal line guy.
Yeah, I could see him exactly. You can see him being a goal line guy. And that Buffalo offense, looks to obviously take a step forward. So if it can be a good offense, then you can see both of these guys, producing.
Yeah, and another thing, especially with teams like Buffalo, who is they're very good defensively. Those are the kind of teams that, the game plan for them, get a lead, protect it, and run the ball in the second half. So, there's going to be a lot of carries and touches to go around for the running backs. So I'm not super scared, but of course it doesn't make me feel as good as if they would have drafted like a 6th or 7th rounder,
Right.
So, anything else with Moss?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, well that brings us to the end of the AFCs. We definitely went over, so we'll try to keep the NFC show a little bit shorter.
NFC show should be shorter, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with you.